Welcome back to Wholesome by Sarah's YouTube channel. I've got to get used to saying that. I'm not used to a YouTube channel, which is really, really cool. And so my cup of tea. Love just cooking away and talking to the camera. That's what I used to do in my teenage years with my three younger sisters. I'd set them all up. Then I would just start yapping away and cooking away, and they just had to sit there and watch. So it's kind of like that, but you know, maybe 20 years later. Today, we are going to be making a salad. If you know me well, you know I love my salads. I love this salad, although I'm kind of making it up on the spot, but it's lots of the normal ingredients I love to use. So we're using Pearl Cous Cous today. It's got some dried dried cranberries for some chewiness. It's got some roasted almonds for some crunch, some chickpeas, baby spinach, cucumber, red onion, but any onion you like, fresh herbs, some mint that I just picked out of my garden and then I've got some parsley. But the actual cool thing about this salad is that you can use any herbs you want. Maybe besides Asian herbs like Vietnamese mint and Thai basil. Rosemary and the woody ones don't really work. If you've got parsley, mint, dill, or basil, they all work really well. You can use one, you can use two, you can use all four. It just adds a really fresh, crunchy element to the salad too. And then a beautiful tahini lemon dressing. We don't have a name for this yet, so I think the name of this will come as we develop the recipe and make the recipe. So Pearl Cous Cous, a very wonderful, basically it's like a pasta. It's pure wheat. The reason that it gets shaped like this and it holds its shape is because it's toasted at the end of production. So what Pearl Cous Cous does really well is absorbs the liquid, so it'll increase in size like pasta does a bit. But that's why in our water, I'm actually gonna add some stock powder. Whatever stock powder you want, veggie stock, chicken stock. I've just gone with veggies. It will just flavor the couscous a little bit. And you can do that when you're cooking any grains. So quinoa, farro, lentils. Lentils don't absorb it as well, but anything that you're cooking like that, you can add some stock. That flavor will be absorbed into the grain that you're using. 1.5 cups of Pearl Cous Cous. I've got my water boiling just like you would pasta, a big full pot of salted water, but I get salt from the stock, so I'm not adding salt. It's rolling boiling now. We're just gonna turn it down a bit now. So it's still simmer boiling, but it's not throwing it around because that's when it can get a bit gloggy and whatever. So that's in cooking away about 8 minutes. Check the packet of the brand you're using, but it is always between, like normal pasta, about 8 to 10 minutes. So the best thing about this salad is that it's easy. It can work with other meats as a weeknight meal. So any meats that you're cooking, if you're cooking fish, if you're cooking chicken, if you're cooking lamb, you can pair it with this salad. It works quite well. Or if you are entertaining or you have to take a plate somewhere, this one is just a really yummy, fresh, great one to bring. Let's start with our spinach because I always like to start with the leafy part of the salad. I do this thing where I chop spinach. Some people might gawk at that and think, oh my God, why would you? But they're sometimes a little bit hard to eat, especially when you're dealing with a very small grain, because trying to get it on your fork, you've got this big leaf there alongside these tiny little grains that are slipping around everywhere. That is the reason I chop my spinach for salads. We kind of want it to be all different shapes and sizes. I don't mind getting the stems in either on baby spinach leaves. I don't find them too bad at all. So this is just 1 can of chickpeas that has been drained and rinsed. Make sure you rinse your chickpeas. They're often in the brine that has a little bit of salt and different things in there, and it can be a little bit gross to eat. Great. Whenever you see, generally, this is a general rule, but especially very much so for my salads, whenever you see a salad that asks for a dried cranberry or a dried fruit, think in your mind you can actually sub out any dried fruit. I love working with dried cranberries, but if you didn't have dried cranberries in your, your pantry, then you could do currants, you could do sultanas, you could do dried apricots. What they provide is a pop of sweetness, but also chewiness to a salad. I think I did about a cup, maybe 3/4 of a cup, and we're just going to give those a bit of a chop. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. I actually really love when they're all different sizes. Now, I'm getting weary that this is getting close to our 8 minutes. I know my timer hasn't gone off, but don't know why my timer hasn't gone off. That's ready. And then drain that, run it through some cold water. But then I like to stick it back in the warm, hot saucepan that you cooked it in because it sort of tends to dry it out a little bit. Because it is toasted before it's packaged, like as a manufacturing process, it can hold on to quite a lot of liquid. But you can always grab some paper towel and just sort of wrap it around there, or put paper towel in a bowl, line the bowl with paper towel, pour the Pearl Cous Cous in, put some paper towel over the top, give it all a bit of a smush around to absorb that moisture, because we just don't really want wet couscous going into the salad. It kind of just destroys the textures and things like that. So we'll pop that there just on the, I've turned that off, so that's good. I have a tendency to leave the stove on when I walk off. And anyway, now I'm going to do some cucumber. Like I always say in my videos that I include cucumber, which is a lot of them. I love cucumber. If you don't, you can leave it out. You can also chop it in whatever way that you want. I'm going to dice it for this. Pop those in. Next, I'm going to go red onion. I think we're only going to need half. If you do find it too strong, slice it up in whatever way you want. Cover with water, leave it for 15-20 minutes, then drain it, give it a bit of paper towel to soak up the moisture, and then throw it into your salad. And all that will do is it will just pipe down the potentness of the onion. So let's do half. I'm going to dice it, pick up some, and I always say this, even though I am a recipe developer and recipe creator, even when you're looking at my recipes, because one, we sort of, oh gosh, that's getting me going now. We sort of can say, you know, 1 medium onion, chop it up and throw it in. But again, if the onion is quite strong, if it's on the larger side of being a medium onion, you throw it in and that can pretty much destroy your salad because you've just thrown in a shitload of onion that is so strong and that's all that people are going to taste. I've just put in quite a bit there. I can even just give it a little toss and have a look. Once I've tossed it, like, is there lots around? So I'm like, no, when I see it now, I'm like, no, once we throw in the couscous, the herbs, all of that sort of bit, I actually think that I am gonna need the half. It's sort of drying out a bit. It's not as soggy and wet as it was right at the beginning. Great, that's looking awesome. How much mint have I got here? I don't know. You know, about that. Loosely packed, about a cup. So just collect it all like this in a nice big bunch. Make sure you've taken out the stems of mint. They can be quite yucky to bite onto and whatever. So just the leaves of mint. And then you're just gonna run your knife through it. I don't mind, not big chunks of mint, but I don't chop it down till it's tiny, tiny. I love seeing it through salads. I love getting big mouthfuls of it. It's just so fresh and adds beautiful flavor. So I just run the knife through pretty much once. Generally, when you're cutting herbs, you don't want to keep going over them 1,000 times with your knife because you're just bruising them and you're just actually pretty much destroying the herbs. You really should just try and go, you know, rolling your knife back to front, but going through once. And if that suffices, then great, throw it in your dish. Basil does not like to be cut, but if you do need to break them up, it's better to tear basil. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's from my garden, so I'm pretty proud of my mint. I mean, it is the easiest herb to grow. I am very aware of that. Sometimes I couldn't keep plants alive to save myself, which is a little bit sad. Now we're parsley. Same kind of thing, bunch it up, and then we're gonna try and go for once through the parsley. Pop that in. Lovely, lovely, love all the greenery from herbs. They're just, I mean, I do love spices and the amount of flavor and everything that they can add to sort of dishes, obviously more cooked dishes, but herbs, I just don't think you can beat. I think they're so unbelievable at adding color and flavor and texture and just bringing a dish up from, you know, being mediocre to being absolutely beautiful. Come and look at this. I reckon it's actually a pretty good time to add it, to be honest. Because see how, like at the start, it was really wet and slippery, right? And if we had have just poured that into the salad, it would have then leaked out the moisture and the moisture would have got onto the chickpeas and to the herbs and wilted the herbs and done all of that. We've waited 10 minutes while we've made that salad up, and what's happened is it started to sort of dry out. And if we left it much longer, it might start to get gluggy and stick. But I think right now is when I'm going to add it. Yeah, isn't it funny how I thought I didn't have enough and now you see it and you're like, whoa, pasta has a funny way of surprising me like that all the time. And now we're just going to toss it through so it doesn't keep drying out and getting gluggy. Israeli couscous was what I used to go and buy at the essential ingredient because you couldn't get Pearl Cous Cous in our supermarkets. All right. That is looking great. So I will adjust that in the recipe. There is a little bit left over in there. Don't know if we're gonna need it, so I'm gonna hold off for now. I'm gonna add some almonds now. I'm probably gonna say half a cup for the recipe, maybe 2/3 of a cup. Add a little bit now just to be able to stir through and get that nice texture. You can use flaked almonds, you can use slivered almonds, whatever almonds you want, just toast them. These were whole. I really love toasting or roasting whole almonds because then when you go to chop them, as much as they sort of fly everywhere, they do chop into all different shapes and sizes, and that's what I love about it, because when you eat the salad you can get a big chunk of almond or you can get a little one, whereas if you're using flaked almonds or slivered almonds, it's always the same. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you want to add texture to something, roasted almonds like that is a really good way to do it. I'm going to save the rest for when we're plating up. Oh no, wait, I was going to do my dressing. Okay, dressing time. It's a tahini lemon dressing. Really great on lots of different salads. Never to be used on an Asian salad, but any of your mainstream grainy salad, a tahini lemon dressing is really, really yummy on. It's also really yum on fresh veggie salads, so things like Greek salad to change it up a little bit. So old jam jars, you can make it directly in the jar, obviously screw top jar, and then put that in the fridge for up to, I often keep mine, depending on what they are, but for 2 weeks. I think people say a week to be safe. They're so fine for 2 weeks. Well, they are in my eyes. I've never got sick from them, so I go by that. I don't have my quantities for this. I'm just gonna guess, I think. I'm gonna go about 3 tablespoons or 1/4 cup roughly of extra virgin olive oil. Usually there's an acidic element to a salad dressing. I will often just default to vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is my fave, but any vinegar works well. Red wine vinegar, white wine vinegar, balsamic vinegar, or lemons, because citrus obviously add an acidic element is what I'm trying to remember to say. Oh my goodness. Roll it on the bench before you need to use it. It really loosens up all the particles of the lemon that allow it to kind of give lots of juice. I'm gonna zest this on my board because I feel like me trying to aim into that jar ain't gonna work. I love my microplane. I probably had this for over 10, well, actually even 20 years. Is that a bit scary to say? So a long time ago. It's very blunt. It still works for certain things. There's lots of different brands that do them now that are really affordable. I use ours all the time. You can use it with ginger and garlic. It works for lemon, any citrus. It also used for parmesan. You can use it for spices, so things like nutmeg, a whole nutmeg and things like that. But they are a pretty wonderful tool. And another little tip, you don't want to go too deep that you're getting into the pith, into the white part, because all that adds is like really sour bitterness that will ruin whatever you're making. So make sure you're turning it as you go, rotating it as you go, not pushing too hard, but just getting that top layer of beautiful yellow zest, because that's gonna give you the flavor that you really want in whatever you're cooking. Cutting it in half or whatever way you like to get the juice out. I've got one of these fancy things. I've got them for both lemons and limes, but you don't need both. The lemon works for both because a lemon often doesn't fit in the lime one, if that makes sense. Squeeze that juice. Oh, this is good. It's got barely any pits. Don't you love that? You are meant to hold it like that and juice and it comes out the bottom, but I actually find them better to do like that. I didn't even know if I was meant to do the whole thing, but we'll work it out. Onto our tahini. Maybe we'll do 2 teaspoons and see. If you store your tahini in the fridge, bring it out a bit before you make your dressing, because otherwise it's going to be like a rock and it's going to be really hard to break down when you're making your dressing. Sometimes I zap it in the microwave for 10 or 15 seconds just to break down. Like with honey, if you warm it up, it sort of relaxes and is easier to use. So I'm adding about that much. It's a bit over a teaspoon. It's probably 2 teaspoons to be honest. And let's see, I can always add more, as Mum used to say. You can always add more, you can't take it away. Now I've got tahini lip gloss on, hold on. I'm obsessed with sesame, because that's really what it is. It's just ground sesame seeds, but can be quite full on. A bit of pinch of salt, some cracked black pepper. Oh, need to fill this. Imagine we added more pepper there. I'll put in the recipe. And then some pure maple syrup. Whenever I add, oh God, my brain stopped working. Pure maple syrup to a dressing, it is generally optional. So I know a lot of people are sort of like, I don't need the sweet element to it, or I'm trying to be health conscious. I don't want to add, you know, sweet syrups where I don't need to. I like to add it because it adds a sweetness to the dish, but I think it works really well with the lemon and the tahini and that sort of thing. So let's just go 1 teaspoon about, and I think that's it. So now we're gonna put our lid on and shaker, and look at that beautiful color. Love that. It's got that beautiful glossy yellow, nice and thin, so it's gonna coat the salad well. Yeah, I can still feel the tahini hasn't broken down. So see, that's what I mean about tahini being quite thick. I can get my little whisk and whisk it up, but I'm also just gonna try. Oh God, I did it so tight I can't open it. Let's see if that's broken it down. Yes, it has, and it's nice. Yeah, I was about to say it looked a bit thin before. I was a little bit worried, but beautiful. So let's have a try. Great dressing. Oh, you know when the acidity gets the back of your throat, the back of your mouth, and it's sort of just like. But now I hate when this happens, when it's gone on the outside of the jar, and now it's all like, you can make this up to a week before, 2 weeks even. I'm a big advocate for trying to make your salad dressings at home. They're much better for you. It's just a wonderful skill to have for life, because then often the dressing lifts your salad immensely and it creates something really special. We're gonna add the dressing. It actually looks like a very good amount. Different things can be different sizes, and ultimately we can end up with a slightly different dressing at the end of it. So I always say, make the dressing, taste it, have a think about it. Does it have the acidity part that kind of hits the back of your mouth and gets those, I don't know, whatever going, but something? Does it have a balance of, you know, enough extra virgin olive oil? Does it have a balance of salt and pepper that you can taste a bit of the saltiness? The sweetness in this just comes through because we're only adding a teaspoon of pure maple syrup. So just, you'll get better at tasting it and going, no, that needs a little bit of pepper. That does need a little bit of pepper, because remember we ran out. I'd say add half of the dressing to your salad, coat it, see what it's like. One of my actual pet hates is when you make a beautiful salad and you spend the time making it and then you pour the whole jar of dressing on, you toss it and you go, oh God, I've actually drenched the salad and now it just tastes like the dressing. I know I'm rambling on about this, but it's super, super important. That's why I say add half, it's about half, a bit more. And I know I'm probably gonna need all of this, but still, I'll do it this way, then coat it. So I actually find that once Pearl Cous Cous is actually cooked and it's absorbed the liquid in the pot, it doesn't tend to absorb much more in the bowl. All right, see, that's almost looking like it's got enough dressing in my eyes. So there you go, there was a point to my ramble. I'm actually gonna leave the dressing there for now. I think for today, I'm just gonna do the feta because I am trying to advocate that this is a really easy, really simple, no tricky techniques, that kind of thing. But I'm going to, and I'm not shying away from it, I'm just thinking that have the halloumi in mind. So I'm not usually the person that takes the easy option, but today we're gonna do that. Plating up time. Just pile some of those delicious, look, so beautiful. Now I'm gonna be a little bit fancy here. I'm gonna stop, not halfway, but 3/4 of the way and just put a few almonds in there for crunch so they don't get lost. Beautiful. And then finish it off. Little tricks with serving salads. Pile them nice and high. Remember however long ago that was, maybe 20 years ago when Ottolenghi first released his first cookbook. What he did do beautifully was he piled salads wonderfully high and he just made them look so beautiful and he just presented everything so beautifully. So my tips that I've learned over the years and starting out with Ottolenghi was choose a bowl or plate that is smaller than your salad size, where by the time you finish putting your salad in, it's going to be piled nice and high. That looks so great. Generally, you should add salad dressings at last minute. So have them in the jar next to it, in your bowl, and then just before you serve it up, throw in your dressing. That is the same with nuts. Over time, they're going to get soggy. They're going to lose their crunch. Always have your nuts separate. If you're about to make the salad and serve it, you can add them then. But if you're making the salad nice and early, leave your nuts off. To finish this, I've got my feta. If you are dairy-free or you're doing a vegan dish, then you can absolutely leave out the feta. I'm not going to clog too much of feta because I find as well, see now I've kind of made it a bit too feta-y at the top. So what I'm going to do is get my little spoons and just toss in a little bit of the feta so we still get that beautiful greenery on top. And then last touches, I'm going to do a few more nuts, a bit of texture to make it look pretty. Just chop a little bit of this over here. Always have a little bit of extra greenery, so whatever herb was in the salad or baby spinach doesn't really work to just plonk on top. Piled nice and high into a nice pyramid. There we go. I've babbled my way through this. If you didn't talk as much as I did, I think this is a salad that you could throw together pretty quickly and it's pretty no fuss. So try and get a bit with all your goodies. You've got your chewy dried fruit, you've got your nuts, you've got your lovely fresh herbs. Okay, here we go. Oh my God, it's so big. I put too much in my mouth, sorry. Love that. It is just, I think, a salad that is achievable. There's nothing too tricky to it, but it's also one of those salads that if you serve it up or take it somewhere, people are gonna be like, oh wow, what's that salad? Oh my God, what's in that? It's just a ripper salad. Nothing too fancy about it, just your good old ingredients. Pearl Cous Cous, maybe if you don't use that, it might be a nice change to throw into a salad, but I really love that one. So we'll see what I call it, but Pearl Cous Cous dried cranberry and feta salad with a zingy tahini maple dressing. Yum.